I can't be the only one that thought Belal Muhammad won the UFC 304 press conference. It was decent, only 15 minutes long, even for the new standard where press conferences are getting shorter and shorter. They're usually like 20 minutes, 19 minutes. This was 15 minutes on the dot. The questions being asked at this press conference were great. The UK fans, they did a good job outside of maybe, the stadium questions went on too long. But all the opportunities were there for the fighters to talk shit, except for Aspinall and Blaydes. We knew we were never going to get any trash talk. Paddy and Bobby Green resort to a respect fest after months of both of these guys talking shit. After years of Bobby Green ragging on Paddy Pimblett, calling him out weekly, monthly, talking about how he's got Dana White privilege. It's all respect at the actual press conference, so no matter the question, they didn't give us a good back and forth. Belal and Leon kind of carried, but Leon, the headshot dead chant can only be fresh for so long. I mean, it's just gotten old. It's a little bit overplayed.
Keep that same energy you guys Saturday. You guys are going to be real disappointed.
I think Belal, with the no flinch moment in the Staredown, won him the press conference. I mean, I know that fighters are supposed to flinch. I know that flinching means that you have good reaction time. Flinching means that you're smart. In a real life situation, if someone flinches at you like Leon just flinched at Belal, goes like that, you're supposed to flinch. It shows that you have good instincts. But I think in a situation like a Leon Edwards stare down at a press conference, 2 days out of a fight, Leon's a pretty level-headed guy. This isn't Madman McGregor at a bar. This is not Jorge Masvidal with his hands behind his back sneaking up on you behind Poppy's Steakhouse. It's Leon, okay? Leon's the awkward guy, and I think that he can control himself enough not to punch someone at a press conference, right? He knows that Belal's trying to sell the fight and all that. And I think that Belal could have potentially went up there purposefully with the mindset, like, I'm not going to flinch. I'm not going to let this guy get to me. I'm going to stand my ground. I'm going to get right in his face. And I'm not going to let anything that he does make me take a weird step, a back step. I'm not going to blink. And I think that Belal recognized that this is the context where I'm going to try to hold my ground as best as possible. Like, that was what his mindset seemed to be. Probably was when he went up to stare down with Leon Edwards. It was probably, I'm holding my ground no matter what. Like, this guy is taking me lightly. This guy's laughing and giggling in the elevator, and I'm holding my ground, letting him know that I'm amped, that I'm ready to go, that, I may not have as much hype as Colby Covington. I may not have the accolades of Kamaru Usman, because Leon's been saying, this is just another guy in the way. He's not Kamaru. He's not Colby. He's more ready than Colby. He's more amped than Colby. Like, he's heated, right? And I think a lot of it, he doesn't actually hate Leon, I don't think. I think he dislikes Leon because Leon was making his path to the title seem like it wasn't that impressive, right? When he had a very similar path to the title. That's why Belal doesn't like him, but I think Belal always gives himself a reason, and he's talked about this, to get a little bit hyped and amped and angry at his opponents. He gives himself a reason to want to punch them in the face. And I just see that Belal has a level of intensity that Leon doesn't have in this fight week. And I think, again, Leon may be taking him lightly a little bit. Now, of course, on the night of the fight, Leon always shows up. He's professional. He's like a drone, like one of those UFC NPCs that you're fighting on the hardest level difficulty, that you have to work your ass off to punch a couple of times per round cleanly. He never makes mistakes, perfect distance management. He's tough to beat. But Belal has an amped up mindset. And I know it's not all mindset, but Belal seems ready, and he seems like he has the I won't be denied mindset, whereas Leon seems a little lackadaisical. So I think Belal won the press conference. I think he won the stare down. And I know that even if Belal were to have flinched, there would be some people saying, well, it was the smart thing for him to do. If Belal were to have flinched, you just know that most people would be jumping on him and saying things like, well, Leon's in his head. Leon's scaring him. Look, he's like scurrying away. They'd be making fun of him. They'd be calling him soft. They'd be saying he wants to be tough so bad, but every time he's in the room with Leon, he can't speak and he flinches and shit like that. They'd be making fun of him. I think that it was a win moment for Belal. Let me know what you guys think. I'm sure some people will say, well, that just goes to show that his instincts and his speed and his reaction time is not where it needs to be for a fast guy like Leon Edwards. But I think in the context of the stare down with a fighter like Leon Edwards, I think he probably went in purposefully trying to hold his ground no matter what. Tom Aspinall and Curtis Blaydes had a respect fest, as was expected. Tom Aspinall said his walkout tomorrow is going to be the most legendary walkout in UFC history. He's got some interesting song planned. Although there was one interesting moment with Aspinall and Curtis Blaydes, one of the reporters asked Dana White if the winner of this interim title fight this weekend would get to fight the winner of Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. And Dana White, of course, said, absolutely. But we all know that Jon Jones plans on retiring. And people don't talk about this, but Stipe Miocic has also said that the only fighter he's interested in fighting is Jon Jones. He wants to fight Jones more than he wants to fight for the belt, that he's only coming back for the test that is Jon Jones. So even Stipe is planning on retiring after this next fight. This is the only thing left for him. And Dana White probably knows that too. So it's easy for him to just appease the fans by saying absolutely. But he knows they're probably never going to make this fight. Dana wants Jon Jones to end his career on a win more than anyone else, most likely. And even if Jon Jones does dominate Stipe, because I was thinking, well, maybe if he dominates Stipe, that'll give him confidence to stick around and to potentially risk losing against a guy like Tom Aspinall and actually try to fight him. But if you think about it, I think that would be even more of a reason for Jones to sail off into the sunset after an amazing win. If both of his heavyweight performances are perfect, first round finishes with hardly any adversity, Jon can just say, listen, you guys want me to continue fighting. I have nothing else to prove. What makes you think I wouldn't do the same thing to him, right? Look at all my performances. They speak for themselves, at heavyweight at least. I'm going to retire. So if Jones has a tough fight with Stipe, he's not going to want to fight Aspinall. If he has an easy fight, that's the perfect moment for him to take advantage of being a dominant heavyweight champion, not having like a long reign, but you guys get my point, having dominant performances and then saying, well, I would dominate Aspinall too. Just look at what I did to these other guys. So, yep, we're probably never going to see that. So when Jones and Stipe takes place, we'll probably see Aspinall's interim belt be promoted to an undisputed belt. Paddy Pimblett and Bobby Green. They got all the right questions, but it just turned into a respect fest. I think that Bobby may have been trying to win over the UK crowd, but, you know, he was out there yesterday talking about how he was talking to people on the street, and they say, yeah, we don't really fuck with Paddy Pimblett. We want you to mess this guy up. And then he gets up there, and it's like, man, I just want to fight the guy. He's got a lot of hype. I just want to fight the guy, right? But he trash talks a lot at the media days. Same thing with Paddy Pimblett. Paddy Pimblett's been saying, man, I can't wait to knock this guy's head off, and he's a fool, changing his name to King Green. And then he's hyping up Bobby Green for understanding some UK slang, some UK humor.
Paddy, it's not that big of a deal. I was taking a piss. Is that how you say it?
That is how you say it, lad, taking the piss. You're on the British slang well in, lad.
Yeah, I've been learning. Thank you for having me, Manchester. This is fucking great.
I expected them to go back and forth a little bit more and have some more trash talk moments, just because Paddy Pimblett usually ends up trash talking a lot of press conferences, and so does Bobby Green. Tony Ferguson and Bobby Green had more trash talk than this. Paddy Pimblett and Tony Ferguson were trash talking a lot at their press conference. Paddy actually got really frustrated with Tony. Remember Paddy Pimblett and Ilia Topuria? So I thought this was the perfect matchup where we would get some heat on it, but not a lot of heat on it. Belal and Leon had all the heat on their matchup. Belal getting booed as usual. That's nothing new for Belal. He's used to getting booed. Yeah, the press conference was all right. It was okay. I think Manel Kape and Muhammad Mokaev would have been a great addition, but they didn't fucking clutch up on that one, right? I mean, that's just another example of the UFC missing a great opportunity. Apparently there's some like contract negotiations going on with Muhammad Mokaev, and seems like maybe they're punishing him. They put him on the early prelims. That fight was originally supposed to be on the main card. Now it's on the early prelims. So that's kind of a petty thing for the UFC to do. So yeah, I mean, I expected more from the press conference. I think that the press conference that Usman and Leon had for their trilogy last year in March, where there was the don't let him bully you moment, and that was a legendary moment. That was a really fun press conference. And I was saying to my chat after the conference ended that, you know, when guys have already fought each other, it's usually a little bit more hype. But then I remembered Leon and Belal have fought each other. But, you know, outside of Belal roasting Leon a little bit, and Leon was kind of dismissing him, the press conference was a bit plain, to be honest. It was all right. The questions were good. The questions were good. They were solid. There were no questions about how does it feel to be here? How does it feel to fight for the UK? Like, none of the cliche questions that we get every single time. So let me know what you guys thought about the press conference. I think Belal honestly won the stare down. I think that that was a big win moment for him, but maybe you disagree. Maybe you think that he should have flinched, but I just know, even if it's a smart instinct, if he flinched, you just know people would be jumping on him to say, he's scared, Leon's in his head, Leon has this in the bag, which would be silly.